holidays will likely look a little different this year, but it can still be a great time to learn about your family history and heritage. Even as we are gathering virtually or visiting with a smaller family group, or whatever our holidays look like in 2020, we can still take the opportunity to trace where our families are from and the unique heritage that make up our family tree. Sometimes there's a lot of information readily available, and other times it can be difficult to track down or know where to even get started. Simply researching your last name can hold clues to your heritage. The Teen Tween programming staff have taken the time to learn about our family histories and express them visually. Here, you will see that each family history is different, but shows an epic journey of people moving, sometimes across the globe, with hopes of living a better life. What would your family journey look like?
Hello, my name is Marinda Colley. That's my dad's last name. But my mom's last name is Ciccone, and I'm going to talk about how the Ciccone family came from northern Italy in a province called San Carico, which is now in Tuscany, all the way over to Pennsylvania in the United States in the early 1900s. So my first relatives that were here in the U.S. were Ercilia Ciccone and Onorato Ciccone. They had 5 children. Peter Ciccone, who would later become Pete Sr., was my great-grandpa. So, before they came to Pennsylvania, Onorato and Ercilia Ciccone got married in this church in San Carico, Italy. San Carico is a really small province. So, the Ciccone family are a group of flour millers, I guess you could say. They make a kind of flour from chestnuts called chestnut flour. And we still own a mill in San Carico that's still run by the Ciccones. And again, it's been run there for the last 400 years. They use chestnut flour to make chestnut polenta, which is something that we still make for Thanksgiving meals in my mom's family. And that's what Onorato and Ercilia left behind when they came here. They came all the way from San Carico to Pennsylvania in the early 1900s because Italy had just actually become a unified country in like 1860-something. And because of that, there was an agrarian crisis where the way that land was broken up in the Middle Ages no longer worked in a large country, and farmers were having a lot of economic troubles and weren't able to keep their land. Onorato and Ercilia decided to go to Pennsylvania to try to make money with Onorato working in the coal mines. And my great-great-grandma Ercilia used to send sugar and clothing back home to her family in San Carico. Unfortunately, Onorato, you can see here on his death certificate, he died in 1926, so maybe 20 years after they got to the U.S. He died in a coal mining accident when some dynamite exploded. So Ercilia, over here to the left, became a widow. Okay, so that kid in the picture grew up and became this guy with the purple arrow pointing at him. He is my great-grandpa Pete Sr. Ciccone. He was born in Whiskey Run, Pennsylvania, and he married a woman named Lena. She's my great-grandma. So there we have Lena. So this is my great-grandma Lena over to the left with Ronnie, her son, and over here to the right with the purple arrow is my grandpa, Pete Jr. Ciccone. We have Lena and Peter Ciccone. They had these 3 kids, so my grandpa, Pete Ciccone, was the first one in our family to go to college, and he became an architect. He met my grandma, Jolene, and together they had 7 kids. Here are all of their kids, so my aunts and uncles. And Amanda is my mom. So we have Pete and Jolene Ciccone, and down there my mom being a basketball player, Amanda Ciccone. So, My mom and dad met in college in Pennsylvania. They moved to Michigan for work after they got married. And then they had me. So there's kind of a view of how far we came. All of my family is from Pennsylvania. And here is a bigger view of the family tree. At the very top, we have Ursilia and Honorato. And at the very bottom, that's me and my mom. And I always find it very inspirational to think that Honorato and Ursilia came all the way here from northern Italy. And Honorato worked a very difficult job and suffered, mortal injuries at his job just so that his family could have a better life. And he and my grandma Ursilia are the only reason, that I exist because of their hard work. So yeah, thanks guys.
Hi, I'm Amy, and this is my family heritage map. So to make my map, I first just kind of Googled my last name and origin. So I started out with Biven and found that the name Biven is a Welsh name. So I could determine that my ancestors came from Wales. Some interesting things about my name. I found the name Biven comes from Ab Evan, so that would be son of Evan. And I also found out that I have a family motto, which is Semper Virtudi Constans, always constant to virtue. So I just kind of started there. I thought that seemed like the easiest way to get into finding out a little bit about my ancestry. I also looked up my dad's mom's name, which was Virginia Hebel. And that name seems to have originated in England. And I, after that, decided to look into the names on my mom's side. And I have a little more information on my mom's side, just from talking to her and getting some of the family tree history. So I still started with this last generation. So my mom's maiden name is Pierce, and that name is from England as well. Her grandmother's name was Martha Johnson, and her mother's name was Stewart. So we're getting all kinds of immigration from the UK, from England and Wales, and possibly Ireland as well. So finding out about your family history, really, it doesn't have to be too complicated. There's definitely a lot more that I could look into and that I'm planning to look into and find out more about. So I hope this helps.
Using the library's free access to census records, I discovered that my paternal ancestors, Jazz and Mary, were born in Germany in the 1830s. Another set of ancestors, William and Sarah Darby, were born in England in the 1840s. Sometime between then and 1880, when both sets first appear in the U.S. Census, they immigrated to the middle of Pennsylvania, where all the generations of my family have lived since. I'm the odd one out, both for moving to Chattanooga and for being the first woman of my name to graduate from college. Most of my ancestors were steelworkers or coal miners, served in the military during World War II, or were a woman in a time where women just didn't go to school. It took me hours to track down even that small amount of family history. Not only because our last name gets misspelled 5 different ways on 5 different censuses. Censuses. Also, because of the tradition where a married woman takes her husband's last name, it gets super hard to track her if you don't know her maiden name. Lastly, I know absolutely nothing about my maternal lineage, as my family has no information about my mom's birth parents. So it's just a wild card on that side. Don't worry if you're like me and can't track your heritage beyond a generation or two. Learning any new facts about your family is still super fun.